somewhere in this great cathedral, the heart of darkness lay concealed.
Hey, and welcome to part 3 of our epic chat with Raina, Audron, and Bazielim. Today we talk about Avernus, Tyrell, the Soul Reaver, and more. Enjoy! So one thing I really love about Defiance is it's all of its callbacks to Blood Omen 1, especially Avernus. What can you tell me about Avernus?
Basically, Avernus was a lot more larger area, at least conceptually. They wanted Raziel to go through the actual town of Avernus.
Yeah.
And in the game, you only see it in flames or like on a 2D image, and he just happens to go there, and you never see it because it's showing Kain doing something else in the same time. However, the original files indicated they were planning to do more with the town, but they just ran out of time, and they just conceptualized it. They didn't really make any proper levels or anything like that. And also the inside of Avernus had extra rooms, but again, it was all cut because time constraints. So they had to make something more coherent, so they kept the parts of the catacombs and stuff like that. However, they also made several Cenobite classes, which is really interesting. Like, one of them had a knife. There was another caster class. So there was and one was
two caster classes.
Yeah, there was one called Summon and one Caster. Caster is the one which doesn't appear in the game. You have to summon. Summon guy is only in the game. That's the only class left. But they had like 4 different ones, and one had a staff, and there was a knife.
In the strategy guide, it says there is Cenobite Summoners and Cenobite Acolytes, but there is virtually no distinction. There's no difference. They all look the same. They all seem capable of doing the same stuff. It's very a judgment call in the final game as to whether they're which class they are.
That's interesting.
We had these 4 classes. I was like, okay, that's interesting. And when I actually dug into the voice files, I found out they recorded dialogue for these classes. However, it was only one of them they added the actual dialogue, because they're all male in the final game. But they recorded female dialogue for the sorceresses. And I was like, okay, they recorded quite a bit of dialogue, like 10-15 lines or something for her. And I was like, what if we do something with this? So obviously they were planning more Cenobite classes, so they're already part of the game. So all we have to do is just, make it work again. And we did our best to basically, plug it in. It wasn't easy. Like all the old files are not really compatible with the current version of Defiance, so you can't just plug it in. I mean, it's got a to style coding in it, so it's kind of compatible, but there are issues. There are quite a bit of issues with this, because things are missing, and the game expects certain formatting when it doesn't have it anymore. But we did our best to, I was like determined, we need to make this work. And the Cenobites have a female class now in the cathedral. And it's basically, I've done it also to differentiate campaigns, because Raziel and Kain go through very similar areas at points, or the same ones, just in different eras, and to also give a variety in combat, or just like a visual variety as well. And obviously she says different things than the male Cenobite. And also the male Cenobites have slightly increased vocabulary, so they can say more things, because they recorded a lot more dialogue than they actually added to the classes. So they both have their own. I'm not going to say what they say, because I want you to discover it for yourself.
Maybe advise you to not kill them and listen to them speak for a little bit.
Do. Yeah.
Okay, I'll toy with them.
The way to put it.
Flip the coin and play with our food today.
The circle is alive. It binds my soul. The circle is my world. By my death will it thrive.
But I'm really proud of our team to be able to, put this, a second class of Cenobites, because you have feral humans, male and female. You have, vampire hunters, male and female, and Cenobites were the only ones which was, just the monks, and that was it. But we know from Blood Omen there were more than one class of the Cenobites, or the servers for Azimuth. So and actually it's its looks is based on the Blood Omen 1. Sorry, I forgot the name, and Baz, you can remind me.
Mages and fire mages, I think, are what they call them in Blood Omen 1.
These guys do summon fire. I thought it was like amazing fit for them. So I really hope, I want to see what your thoughts are when you hear them and see them in the game. So I really hope you like them.
Oh, I can't wait. One of my big issues with OG Defiance was, of course, 6 hours of Dark Forge.
Yeah. Especially coming from Surya 1 and 2, there was always music in the background when characters talk. There was very little silence, and I found it really jarring going to Defiance and suddenly there's no music. It's like somebody forgot to go back and edit these tracks. I mean, there is some music. Sometimes it's like this creepy music, like a creepy sound effect, like when Ariel first time appears. There's this, ongoing thing because it's like, the pillars are decrepit and stuff. But I always felt it was still missing something. And when the Pillars 2 theme plays, and it felt like connection to Soul Reaver 2. It's the same place. Okay, it looks different now, but I think the music also helps make you feel like, okay, this is actually Soul Reaver 3. It's not just some random game which looks, which has the same characters but looks completely different now, even though it's the same place. Like, it should look about the same, but obviously it doesn't. But anyway, I think musical cues are very important in, gaming. And for me, myself, like, if I don't hear the right footsteps, I go mental. Like, it gets me out of the game. Like, I just can't understand, I can't get, I had to get it right. And the music was the same. Like, when you first see Ariel, like, there should be Pillars theme playing because we're at the Pillars. Like, why is it not playing? And how can you not reuse Tyrell's theme there? Like, come on. I waited until his name is actually revealed to be Tyrell to start playing it. I actually used a different track until then. It was the Underwood Lieutenant theme. So it's more like a generic kind of like, creatures screaming in the background. Okay, this is a boss. It should give you the feeling, okay, this is a giant boss character. We're going to fight him. Because at the start, he's not sure what's going to happen. Raziel is like, okay, maybe I won't kill you. But when he reveals his Tyrell, like, it changes into his own team, and he's like, and then when it kicks in, and I think it really works for him. Like, again, like the music themes like are really missing for me. Like, I also wanted to really use Tyrell's theme, so that was a perfect place for it. And then another thing, like, somebody was complaining that I used the Hilden Lord's theme for when when Hilden Lord was possessing Martanius and Janos. And again, that scenes have only footsteps and occasional, SFX in them. So I was like, okay, so what could fit in with Martanius and also Janos, when he's possessed? And I thought about it hard. I tried some few things which didn't really work out, and then I thought, like, oh my god, of course he's possessed by the Hilden Lord. Why don't we use that theme from Blood Omen 2? The game was already using Blood Omen, music. The original game does use Blood Omen 2 music in some of the camera panning shots when it goes through geometry and it goes back to textures, like the original videos. They actually do use Blood Omen music. I
had no idea.
Some of those. Yeah, even Sorry One Drum Dub is used for Avernus for some reason. It's part of the original game as well. So it's kind of continuing the theme, but just using it for the cutscenes. So when Mortanius gets possessed, the music intensifies and becomes, the Hilden Lord's theme. But only when he possesses him. And then also when he possesses Janos, the things change. When he's possessed only. So I really had I loved doing audio stuff. So being able to direct the cutscenes and then doing the audio part of them and then filling some I noticed some things were missing. I don't know why it is, but for PC version the heartbeat sound was missing completely for Heart of Darkness. I don't think it missed it. I played through on PS2 or PS5, that version. It was beating, but for PC that sound was missing. So it's almost they used some incomplete files. So I had to actually took the heartbeat from SR2 and just so it's still the same heart beat. And I had a few more places when you should still hear it, like when he's holding it in his hand, you can still hear the heart faintly in the background when he rips it out of Kain. And also when he pulls it out to put into Janos, it's when he puts it in the chest, it suddenly is quiet and stops. And it's like that kind of little things which make all the difference to me.
So what do you say we talk about some lore?
I set things straight for some, because those are good questions and they should be answered. And it's annoying that people keep still like, I don't know, if you're not sure. I was like, no, we do know these questions. An answer to these questions, like, stop it.
Well, I definitely want to clear up some of my misconceptions because, yeah, I mean, if I'm spreading any misinformation, I got to get corrected straight away here.
And I really appreciate
That's
that
right.
about you, that you're not afraid to be wrong. And if you are wrong, like, you will correct yourself. Many people feel like, oh no, I don't want to say anything wrong, or that they won't say anything, and then get really offended when they do get corrected. So I really appreciate that you're so open to listening to us, and
Of course, this is one that gets a little bit into my headcanon, so we can stop at any point if you're like just leave it.
Go
So
for it.
I'm obsessed with Vorador, as everyone I think knows by now.
I see my reputation precedes me.
But one thing that I've kind of been wondering about is the ancient vampires only started to pass the dark gift on to humans after, of course, they'd been cursed with vampirism. And so Vorador being the first vampire created, Vorador is also revealed in Defiance to be the creator of the Reaver. I feel like, maybe it's the impression I've gotten from the murals, mostly it's the SR2 murals, that the Reaver was the weapon that won the war. I feel like I must be mistaken about that.
No, that's wrong.
It is something that has been sort of brought up.
But I can see
before,
why
so
would you think that.
We can see, But when you see it in the war, it's essentially prophesying a hero will come. It's not a literal depiction.
Yeah, so Raziel wasn't part of that war, but they thought he will come, claim the Reaver, and deliver them from their oppressors. Like from the Hildon, that they will punish the Hildon together with them. But he obviously never came. So these murals are basically figurative. They're not literal. Like they added Raziel into it to obviously for the future to influence the hero. Like, look, you need to find the Reaver. Where are you? Kind of thing.
Find
almost.
This sword.
Yeah. So, but the sword was cursed with vampirism, as Janos says. I mean, and obviously Vorador also confirms it, that he made the sword.
I was its maker, yes.
So we know the only way for that to work was that them themselves already knew how to inflict vampirism on other things, like, they're humans and obviously other objects. And they cursed the sword with a gift or curse of vampirism, as you take it, for the vampire champion. But for that to even happen, it must have happened afterwards, after they got cursed themselves. They didn't have the Reaver during the wars. Vorador made it, and obviously for Vorador, when Vorador made it, I think it's safe to assume, or is something like that he got rewarded with his vampirism gift afterwards, and he became first vampire voluntarily, because obviously he revered, Janos was his mentor, and became the first vampire. But yeah, it's definitely happened after the curse.
Okay. The answer to this is it's figurative.
Yeah, the murals are figurative.
Ben, stop being so little.
Yeah, it's there. Yeah, there are true parts when they're fighting. We can see on the murals, but yeah, anything to do with Raziel being the vampire here, we know he never arrived. He wasn't never there, and it's the figure with the halo around the head, obviously holding the Reaver. You can see it many times in all the ruins. So he never arrived. And the forges were made after, obviously they were cursed as well, as a means to test the hero, to make sure. And they were meant for the physical Reaver, which is really interesting, I learned. But they work for the Wraithblade as well, because it's obviously inhabited the Reaver and assumed it's, I guess, some characteristics, so it actually works for both. You may be meant to be inserting physical blade and actually charging with those powers like Dark Light and so on. Which is really, because I didn't realize that until I read some background information. I was like, okay, all right, that makes sense. But it's really cool to learn all this history. Obviously seeing some of the Amy's documentation was amazing, and I obviously can't talk about all of it what she said, but it was really cool stuff.
There is an interesting side note there as well, that the forging of the Reaver was changed between Soul Reaver 2 and Defiance, because in the developmentally, in the timelines that were put out around Soul Reaver 2, Vorador's born after the Reaver is forged.
Of course. I think they didn't organize the timeline correctly on that part. Yeah. Everything else is fine. It's just that part, Vorador wasn't born after the Reaver. Oops.
We'll just blame timeline 4, right? Timeline 4.
It could be. It could very well be timeline 4.
Well, no.
Well, did you see anything about a Hilden champion before timeline 4? Was the Hilden champion, was the Champions Battle a product of the timeline change?
No. Because they always prophesize the hero. The hero myth was there in the first place, because you forget both Hilden and the Ancients could see in the time stream, hence they know Raziel's name. They didn't know what he looked like.
So this is probably Legacy of Kain's most mind-bending concept, but how do paradoxes work? What does it take to trigger a paradox?
The only thing to create a paradox, literally, are two Soul Reavers. Soul Reavers, could mean Wraith Blades or the physical soul, but it has to have soul inside. It has to be a Soul Reaver, not a Blood Reaver. Just to put it out. The Reaver is the key, yeah. Some people think it literally like the key, but I think it's more like a figurative key. Like the Reaver is the key for the races. Like he's supposed to vanquish the other hero with it, but it's also the key for the sign of balance, like to restore.
So based on what you said, I probably already know the answer, but could 2 instances of the Heart of Darkness potentially cause a displacement effect? Right. I mean, Blood Omen 2, they weren't putting that, I don't think they were thinking that far ahead, but if only the Reaver can create displacement, I guess that answers that question.
Yes, Two Hearts doesn't cause it. No other object in the universe can cause it except the Soul Reaver, 2 Soul Reavers. Yeah, so 2 Hearts don't do it, nothing else does. 2 of Raziel wouldn't do it. Until, it's the Reaver blade, the Wraith blade on his arm, which basically is the culprit. Because it's already been through the cycle of it being the Reaver inside the Reaver. So it's the Reaver meeting another Reaver, and obviously the paradox when he gets hit over the head is slightly different. It's the paradoxical event is itself trying to reave itself at that point. There's actually is quite a bit of distortion happening when the blade gets shattered, because it's a huge event, like wave. History cannot allow it. It's a huge wave like this when it gets shattered. It's an impossibility for it to reave itself, like you could never do it, and hence the shattering effect. And Raziel also comments on it in his art too, when he sees the broken Reaver, like, oh, what the hell, like how is it even possible? This blade is indestructible.
Broken, apparently in the battle between William and Kain. I had not thought such a thing was possible.
And that's how he knows it as. So obviously it lasted like millennia untouched or unharmed. It has some scuff marks though, if you look at it closely. There's also this greenish residue, and I think Daniel Kabuka was explaining to me like this thing is like seeping from the skull into the blade, and it's kind of this weird kind of green tint to it over time.
Another theory I've been pushing is that the Wraith Blade would have had to have been diminished in order for it to be made whole when Raziel first comes into contact with William's broken Reaver at the beginning of Soul Reaver 2. So Raziel acquires the Wraith Blade for the first time, of course, in Soul Reaver 1. I'm explaining it to myself at the same time. And he goes back in time. He meets Mobius in William's chapel. The broken Reaver is there. And when Raziel takes up the sword, his soul is leached into the Reaver, and it seems like to me at that point the Reaver is then made complete, and it's now this parasitic entity. So what's actually happening here? So
when he encounters the broken Reaver, it's the Soul Reaver, so it has its soul in it. So when he touches it, it awakens the hunger predatory in his own, and that's why it leaches his own soul energy into the blade to heal it, but it doesn't drain him completely. He stops right before he reaches the brink of oblivion, as he says, and when it lets go, the Reaver, his own Wraith Blade, suddenly has the willpower, which we didn't have before.
So this is an awakening of something that was already there and not a reunification then.
It encountered itself in that period of time and it had that hunger for souls, because he didn't have it after it got broken free out of the Reaver, in Soul Reaver 1 era. It was sustaining him constantly, and it's still sustaining him at the beginning of SR2 until that moment. Once he transforms the Brave Blade into the power-hungry parasite again, it doesn't sustain him anymore. And then we go to Defiant, when they completely forget about this mechanic, and just they just make him more powerful. But we can kind of get around it by he was trapped in the underworld for 500 years, so it cannot be parasitic on him in the spectral realm. So you can say that it was disabled for so long that when he shifted the first time, it became like the opposite. Like it didn't sustain him, but it was hungry for souls. So still eating souls, and it didn't turn on him anymore because he was being fed souls. I guess that you can kind of work with it, even though it's a kind of retcon.
he moped the parasitism right out of it.
Yeah, and also notice that when he frees the Wraith Blade out of its imprisonment, it doesn't devour souls anymore. It has this really cool energy blast which you can use on the enemies. But he frees the souls, but it never. The Wraith Blade doesn't consume them until that moment when he goes back in time and awakens the hunger for souls. So which I find is really intriguing and interesting thing, because obviously it is the Soul Reaver. So when Kain has it as a physical Soul Reaver blade, it reaves souls. It breaks over him because it cannot reave itself, because Raziel is itself. And when it gets freed, and obviously Elder God congratulates you, the Soul Reaver and Reaver of Souls, like he wasn't, was so right at that moment, and you didn't know it yet. And Raziel was supposed to be the spirit in the Wraith Blood, even in the original script, because that was part, and he was going back in time, and he would probably, become the soul in the Soul Reaver anyway. But Emmy always intended him to be the soul inside the Soul Reaver, so that was never changed, which I find really interesting. But the fact that he doesn't reave souls when he gets freed, because it's freed, I guess the moment of being free and then, symbiotic to Raziel, symbiotically bound, that, it's a positive thing, and it's like become his main weapon, and it's so powerful, but again, fragile at the same time. You can hit once, you lose it. But then in Soul Reaver 2, you can still lose it at the start if you get hit, but you can recover it, and then it will sustain you until that moment when he touches it.
It actually changes in the code, doesn't it? It's SR2 health is the setting.
Yeah.
It's a change in the way the Wraith Blade works in the actual code of the game.
Does it answer your question?
This is why I love talking Legacy. It's so much fun. It twists back upon itself so mmany times, and there's so much to absorb in it.
Yeah.
I love it.
No, thank you so much for letting us talk about it, because I love this. You only do so much on Discord, but here, when it's face to face, it feels so much more better to be able to explain.
All right. Another great epic chat with Raina, Audron, and Bazielim. Join us next time, and we'll wrap it up as we wrap up Defiance Remastered. Thanks for watching, and if you like what you see and you want to see more, do the things.